Good evening, one and all. Welcome you all to the International Webinar Series on Holistic Health, Well-being and Sustainable Development 2022 on occasion of World Social Work Month and World Health Month 2022, and also commemorating Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav, nation celebrating 75 years of independence, and International Conference on Social Work and Sciences towards One Health and Sustainable Development 2022 in collaboration with Sri Holistic Health Foundation India and Sri Research Institute and Center for Arts, Sciences and Wellbeing. We welcome you all once again to the International Webinar Series. Before we start our session, let's invoke the blessings of Almighty.
कुरुत्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः शुभं कुरुत्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः शत्रुबुद्धिविनाशाय दीपज्योतिर्नमोऽस्तुते दीपज्योतिर्नमोऽस्तुते शुभं कुरुत्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः शुभं कुरुत्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः
The blessings of Almighty, we shall start today's session. Today we have with us Priya S. Dev, Assistant Professor, Department of Social Work, Raikos Elias College. Brief introduction of her is first rank. She scored first rank in Master of Social Work and a Proficiency Prize in academic year 2014-16. And she is also Women Cell President of Sri Bachmans College, Chenganassery, President of Social Work Department Association, Barchwasara, at SB College District level, College level, Coordinator in Total Eradication of Legal Literacy Mission, the Question Bank Faculty in charge of first year MSW course under MG University Chief Examiner, faculty in charge of Ek Bharat Shresht Bharat, and faculty member of Kerala Association for Professional Social Workers. We welcome you, ma'am, for your session.
Thank you, sir.
Elderly with disabilities.
Thank you, sir. Can I start the session, sir?
Yes, ma'am. Please go ahead.
Thank you. Respected dignitaries, faculty members from various disciplines, dear students and dear participants. A very warm good evening to one and all present here. Myself, Priya S. Dev. I am the research scholar from Bharathasan University Social Work Department. Actually, in the brochure, it has mentioned as assistant professor from KE College. I had passed 4 years of experience as assistant professor from Kuriakose Elias College, Kottayam. Now I had actually resigned and joined PhD in Bharathasan University, Trichy. And first of all, I would like to thank Mrs. Mary Florence for giving this wonderful opportunity. Thank you, ma'am. And let's begin the session. Is it visible, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Elderly with disabilities. As we all know that we all have actually seen in our day-to-day life, the life stages. Children, infant, elderly, in the life stages, we can say like infant, children, adolescents, adult, middle-aged adult, senior adults. So in each cases, we also know that there are different kinds of problems in our physical, psychological, social, and economical aspect, isn't it? We also have certain kinds of problems, and we can able to cope the problems by themselves. That's why we all are here. So here in the case of vulnerable groups or weaker sections of the society, we can understand that they are facing so many problems like the children, women, and also elderly. In three dimensions, the elderly people are affecting so many kinds of problems in their psychological, social, physical, and also economical aspects. And National Association, the Statistical Office, has conducted a study in 2021, and it states that the India's elderly population is expected to reach 194 million in 2031. You can see there will be a drastic change in the increased number of elderly people. So the shocking news is that Kerala currently has the highest elderly population, like 16.5%, and it is trailed by Tamil Nadu, Himachal Pradesh, Punjab, and Andhra Pradesh. So here, in all these cases, we can identify that the elderly people are facing such kind of problems, but not only people, those who are elderly, but also the person, those who are taking care of the elderly people are also facing so many struggles. Here, increased physical, mental, and financial pressure on family members combined with the increased weakness of the older person that can create a dangerous situation as our population ages and becomes severely disabled or cognitively challenged. As we all know, if a person as a primary or a secondary caregiver, if they are willing to take care of the elderly people, they're actually giving their whole time to take care of the elderly for satisfying the basic needs of the elderly people. In that particular time, they also have their quality of life, the mental health also get affected. So in both cases, the elderly people and also the caregiver are also get affected. And in thinking about the main health burden of older people, we can say like non-communicable diseases are actually affected, and it results a very health burden in elderly people. The non-communicable disease, when we are thinking about that, the heart disease, stroke, and chronic lung disease that actually act as a killer and also a health burden for the elderly people. And in the greatest cause of disability, the visual impairment or dementia or hearing loss or arthritis, these kinds of problems are also contributing the elderly people to be disabled. And there exists a long-term care, a sustainable holistic care need to be established in taking care of the elderly people, and many require long-term care. As a social worker, we all know that sometimes the people, those who are having disability, or the elderly people, those who are not able to walk, they actually need treatment from their residence itself, isn't it? So sometimes they actually require the treatment or the medicines or the care and support in their family members, from the family members or from their home itself. So social workers need to able to help them, and they have to help them for satisfying their basic needs and also support them and care and provide purposeful care. So here exists the importance of taking care of the elderly people. And when we are looking to the term disability, here in the case of disability, the World Health Organization has defined disability. Let's look on what World Health Organization has defined. They are actually defining it. The disability, the term is an umbrella term, and it included three important aspects like impairment, activity limitation, and participation restriction. So in the case of impairment, it includes problems in the body function. What kind of problems in the body function? The impairment like a loss of limbs, loss of hearing, loss of like a loss of visual aids, visualizing. So in all these cases, there is a loss in doing the activities properly. So it results in activity limitation, and in activity limitation, It forms difficulty encountered by an individual in executing a task or action. Like they are actually feeling difficulty in walking, they are feeling difficulty in seeing, they are feeling difficulty in hearing. So these kinds of difficulties will happen. At the same time, in participation restrictions, they are facing, the elderly people with a disability are facing restrictions in participating certain kinds of activities. For example, in our house itself, we can see that the grandparents and also grandparents are facing difficulties in doing their day-to-day activities, or sometimes they are actually not even willing to take part or attend certain functions or something. So always they will feel like they can't able to do their activities properly. So there exists a restriction to participate activities. So here in the disability, it covers impairment, activity limitation, and participation restriction. So it we can understand that it is a complex phenomena, and this complex phenomena result in reflecting an interaction between features of a person's body and features of the society in which he or she is lives. So the features, the disability which exist in that particular elderly, that actually lead to and result the elderly to not attend or not even actively participate in their day-to-day activities. They are facing different sort of limitations, problems, and issues for satisfying their basic needs. Here we are going to the entire topic, the elderly with disabilities. So I just mentioned the elderly with the disabilities in the way like what or area which the elderly people are actually facing problems, like activities of daily living. They are the elderly people, those who are having disability, are facing problems in their activity of their daily living, including personal care activities such as eating, bathing, dressing, and using the toilet. At the same time, there are certain sort of activities in the instrumental activities. We can call it as instrumental activities like household tasks, shopping, managing medication, climbing stairs, public transport, finances, and walking. So in these two activities, we can say like this is very much important for doing our day-to-day activities properly without the help of others, isn't it? But in the case of elderly people with a disability, they are dependent towards others for satisfying all these activities properly. So frailty is found in 20 to 30% of the elderly population aged over 75 years and increased with the advancing age. As the age increases, the weakness or the fragility is also decreasing, isn't it? It is, the weakness is also increasing, and it is associated with the long-term adverse health-related outcome such as increased risk of geriatric syndrome, such kinds of the depression, anxiety, bereavement also happen. The dependency, always they are dependent towards others, the primary or secondary caregivers for satisfying their needs, and disability also arises, and hospitalization. Sometimes some people are not even able to walk or hear, they will surely need hospitalization treatments and institutional placement. Some people, if in the case of family members, though those who are not have a financial assistance or financial instability to taking care of the elderly with the terminal or terminal illness or disability, they will place them to the rehabilitation centers. Such kinds of problems are also happening, and the mortality rate, the death rate also increases in this case. So in the case of epidemiology, we can say that 2011, the census has reported like a total of 53,76,205 elderly individuals were disabled in India in 2011, and disability rate of 5,178 per 1 lakh elderly population. So here we can say that the disabled population in around the total population actually increasing day by day. So as a social worker, we need to concentrate and we should have to identify the strategies which we can help for the elderly people, take care of the elderly people, and also we should need to find out what are problems which is persisting in the elderly people with a disability. And the disability rate increased as age advanced, with the highest disability rate of 8,409 per 1 lakh among people aged 80 years and above. As I said, in age increases, the weakness, the fragility also increases, and also the problems in their psychological, social, emotional, and also financial problems are also increasing. So the disability rate were higher in males than that is actually showing in the status of 2011 census. And in the disaster, the COVID-19 pandemic, as we all know that there are increased mortality rate of elderly people, and the elderly people are easily get affected with the COVID-19. Some people are not cannot able to recover from that, and it also increase the comorbidities too. So coming to the etiology, the causative factors, what all causes which happen and result in disability. According to the Canadian research, it says like 5 types of chronic illness contribute largely in disability in people aged over 65 years. Food problems, we know that pain in leg, weakness in leg, arthritis, it is actually a painful inflammation that is caused in the joints, and cognitive impairment, they are actually facing difficulties and problems associated with their thinking abilities, and sometimes they can't even take decision properly. If in the family also, in the family members problems which is arising in the family also, the elderly people with the disability, some family members will not allow the elderly people to share their decision. At the same time, some people, the elderly with the disability, can't even take a decision at the right time, and problems associated with their vision. And other common or important problems include like hearing impairment, chronic or respiratory cardiovascular diseases such as chronic pulmonary disease, chronic heart failure, and coronary disease, etc. And fall and hip fracture. As we all know that the elderly people with a disability, sometimes they are very prone to fall. They can't even climb the stairs properly. And in frail elderly people, there is very important term like domino effect, that a marked decline in physical and mental function can result from apparently small insults. Like, for example, in the case of elderly people during the COVID-19 situation, like in the COVID-19 situation, there are so many restrictions which are introduced by the government, and the government has announced like we should need to be, the elderly people are not prone to affect with the COVID-19, so they should need to restrict the walk around the outside, and the elderly people need to be stay at home always. So at that time, that is actually a kind of insult, because they can't even take proper action like exercises, or they can't take proper movements outside. So that actually result in weakness of their limbs, weakness of their leg, and they are continuing to be bedridden. So that small insult that resulted in leading to a cascade of adverse events to that will lead to a complete bedridden stage, or sometimes after the COVID-19 situation also, they are not interested to go outside or talking with friends or attending functions and all, because they are actually continuing the stage they are actually previously had. Here, in the case of disability risk factors, in the case of disability, we should need to know what all are the risk factors which contribute disability. In the case of elderly, the frailty in elderly may be due to a combination of predisposing factors like the hereditary factors or childhood and development and lifestyles. In the case of lifestyle also, the food which they actually followed, the food pattern, the dietary habits they follow. At the same time, what kind of activities they had been doing in each stages of their life, and followed by contributing factors such as physical inactivity, chronic disease, malnutrition in later adulthood. So these are the factors that very much affect and lead to disability in elderly people. And the main risk factors for functional disability in elderly people in the community where lack of schooling, they are not even aware about what all things they need to do in the time of elderly. At the same time, what all regular food habits they need to follow, and what all healthier habits they need to take, and nutritious food, the knowledge regarding the nutritious food, the dietary habits. At the same time, the communicable and non-communicable disease, how to prevent the diseases, and what all treatments which actually need to taken for preventing the further disease or further occurrence of the disease. So in all these cases, they should need to get aware, isn't it? So if they are lacking such kinds of awareness, then it will lead to disability. And rented housing, chronic diseases, arthritis, diabetics, visual impairment, obesity, poor self-perceived health, cognitive impairment, depression, loss of loved one, that also resulted, and slow gait, and sedentary lifestyle, inactive lifestyle, slow gait in the sense slow walking, tiredness while performing daily activities, and limited diversity in school reaction. We can also identify in with our lifestyle, like how we are in our childhood, how we are today, and what are things we are actually the changes, the activeness, the active participation, the speaking, the communication skills, like that. How much time we are spending to take care of our health, that also matters. So in the case of elderly people with disability, there is a need of awareness. There is a need of practice, like their good health practice, at the same time dietitian practice, nutrition practice. The practice also, we also know now, practice makes a man perfect. So if that practice which actually help them to prevent the risk factors of disability, and these factors may be influenced by access to healthcare and the cost of healthcare in different countries. So as a social worker, we should need to know what kind of risk factors that contribute disability, how we can prevent that such kinds of risk factors, and how we should need to aware the elderly people to prevent such kinds of disability or such kind of risk factors. So first, as a social worker, we should need to aware, isn't it? We should have a thorough understanding regarding what all communicable diseases, what all non-communicable diseases which will lead to disability. At the same time, what are problems which threatens the adequacy of the elderly people with a disability, and how we can help and support the elderly people to be active, isn't it? So in all these cases, we also should need to take awareness. We should need to take a step to aware all these factors, and we should have to implement to taking care of the elderly with a disability. And coming to the assessment part, the British Geriatric Society has provided a useful toolkit to assess the elderly people in primary care. This assessment is called a comprehensive geriatric assessment. A wide range of assessment has been done, and like this assessment has focusing a wide range of the elderly people with a disability, like the physical assessment. For example, in the to know the severity of the disability, we can use the DAS scale, disability assessment scale. Through that, we can identify how much severe the disability is. At the same time, different kinds of treatment, the scanning purpose, the X-ray. Through that, we can actually identify what all disability that particular person have. In the functional and social environment assessment, that is very, very important, because as I said, no, in the COVID-19 time period, the people are not even going outside. They are restricted to be there in the home alone, home always. So that actually resulted in weakening their strength. Actually, they are after the COVID-19 also, now it is there, but after that drastic increase, they are unable to go outside, and they are actually feeling difficulties in movement. So the functional aspect we should need to know in what all area the elderly people are actually facing problems, and what area we should need to encourage them to be active. And here in the social and environment assessment, in lots of noses we can see like the family members are not ready to take care of the elderly, not even talking with elderly or communicating with the elderly. They are not taking care of the elderly. So in that cases, as a social worker, we should need to ensure who are ready to take care of the elderly. If there is nobody to take care of the elderly, we should have to identify the rehabilitation. I find rehabilitation centers or those who are ready to take care of the elderly. That is very, very important. At the same time, the environmental assessment. What all problems? Sometimes, if in the case of terminal illness or people, the elderly people with a disability and they can't move, or they are not able to do their activities by their own, fully dependent on others, in that time we should need to understand the environmental circumstance. Is somebody is helping the elderly, or is there any available resources which is meeting or satisfying the needs of the elderly people? And coming to the third point, the psychological components. As we all know, that in this time also, each and every people are worried about our future, right? But in the case of elderly people with a disability, they are thinking and their psychological problems like depression, anxiety always increases if they can't even do their activities by their own, fully depending others for all the work. Just imagine, each person are actually feeling depressed and always thinking negative. So a social worker can help and provide psychoeducation, what all phases they are going, and how they can able to cope up with all the circumstances. Okay, how they can be positive. So such kind of strategies we can provide. At the same time, medication review. Medication review we can like for in the case of arthritis or the lung disease, the elderly people with a disability need to consult a doctor. They should have to maintain a proper follow-up, a treatment plan. So sometimes if the elderly are not being aware of the importance of follow-up, the social worker need to provide awareness. At the same time, we should need to make sure whether the elderly people with disability are taking care of the medicines and treatment properly. At the same time, the final assessment by specialist geriatrician or a multidisciplinary team. In the case of multidisciplinary team, no, doctors, nurses, dietitians, psychologists, social workers, in different disciplines, the heads are there, and they should have to make a thorough checkup regarding what the elderly people is facing. At the same time, what are treatment strategies we can provide for the betterment of the elderly people. So in these cases, a multidisciplinary team should have a purposeful role to identify and also diagnose the disease, at the same time for the treatment and the follow-up. A marked decline in function can be due to relatively small physiological insult, as I said, domino effect, which may result in a frail older person being wrongly labeled as unable to cope. In the case of domino effect, each person actually they'll get insult from others also. They are actually having and facing some kinds of sort of weakness. That weakness, this is normal. In as age increases, the weakness also increases, the dependency also increases. So at that time they will be labeled as unable to cope, because of their physical, the psychological condition, they can't even cope up with the circumstances or the situations which is persisting in the family. But if it is labeling as unable to cope, as a social worker, we should need to take initiatives to change the label and to aware the family members, the primary and the secondary caregivers, regarding why the elderly people with a disability are behaving like this. What are the strategies we can help the elderly people to cope up with the diseases and the discomforts? Bear in mind that early comprehensive geriatric assessment and appropriate treatment may enable such patient to regain lost function. As I said now, in the multidisciplinary team, the help of multidisciplinary team, we should have to make an early diagnosis. At the same time, the proper treatment and proper field follow-up in all these treatment and the follow-up, and also the right decisions at the right time, that will help the elderly people to prevent a severe disability. And coming to the disability treatment and management, after the assessment, we should need to know what all are the treatments which can be provide for the elderly with a disability. At the same time, as a social worker, we should need to know the importance of management in taking care of the elderly with a disability. So treatment of unstable medical condition and any treatable problems contributing to the disability. First, we should need to know what are the problems which is lead to the elderly people to become disabled, and what all are the risk factors that contribute disability. At the same time, reviewing the drug treatment. If we, as a social worker, we identified like the elderly people with a disability need a thorough checkup, need a thorough detailed evaluation and diagnosis. We should need to help them to consult the doctor. So the reviewing a drug treatment is also important, and early mobilization. We have to identify, in the case of lung diseases or cancer or any other terminal illness, we have to identify what all hospitals, what all centers and clinics, which is very much helpful for taking care of the elderly with the disability in detail. Sometimes all hospitals are focusing on all dimensions, like each stages of life, but some institutions are purely focusing on the geriatric people. So that also we should need to understand. At the same time, what financial security which we can provide, if any institution which is going to provide such kinds of help, we should need to aware that also. At the same time, is there any scheme which is implementing by the government for the take caring of the elderly people with a disability or financial assistance? That also we should need to aware. And in the case of management and treatment, we should need to get a thorough record, a proper record of these informations. And nutritional support, what dietary habit and elderly people need to follow, and what are nutrition they need to take during the eating hours, and the comprehensive rehabilitation. The rehabilitation also help the elderly. In the case of NIMHANS, National Institute of Mental Health and Neuroscience, Bangalore, they are actually doing a very dominant duty in the case of rehabilitation of people, those who are having mental illness. If in the case of elderly also, they are doing tremendous work. They are actually making made a community like Sakalvara community, and that in that Sakalvara community, they are given each client a separate house, and they are identifying what are talents they have, what all each person can do by themselves, what activities they are interested to do. So in that area, they are providing training. So in the case of elderly also, as a social worker, we should need to know what area which we need to provide them to make them more active, more make them more engaged in activities. Okay, and how we can help that particular people to communicate properly, to move properly, to walk properly. At the same time, how they can do their exercise properly. So in all these cases, we should have to do activities, and we should have to find certain strategies for the treatment and management of elderly with disabilities. And coming to who should be involved in management, in the case of management, as a social worker, we can take care of the elderly people with a disability by providing services, finding institutions, referring services, and also we can network with the other institutions, those who are providing these kinds of services. And as I said, no, multidisciplinary approach is in discipline. Each persons from various discipline can contribute their viewpoints regarding the elderly people with disability, and all that informations come together to form a diagnosis, isn't it? We are collecting informations from the doctor, the nurses, the social worker, and also the dietitians, the psychiatrists, in all the medical social worker. In all these persons, we are collecting the information and we are making a diagnosis. At the same time, we are identifying what sort of treatment which we can be provided for the elderly with a disability. So this kind of proactive approach to assessment that is helpful for the elderly people for increasing the severity, for decreasing the severity of the disease, and also preventing the severity of the disability. So admission in avoidance, like a hospital at home, sometimes the elderly people with the disability are not interested to go to hospital because of the severe disability. So we should have to find out what sort of treatment which can be given in the residence. And in the case management by caregivers, as I said, both the recipient, the elderly people with a disability, at the same time those who are taking care of the elderly, the primary or secondary or the tertiary caregivers, in that particular person, those are taking care of the elderly, that people are also affecting, and they are actually facing problems in their mental health, quality of life, and all aspects. So we, as a social worker, we have to focus the elderly with a disability, at the same time those who are taking care of the elderly with the disability. And coming to the aspect of management, treat contributing causes. First, we should need to understand what all are the causes, the causative factor, as I mentioned in the etiology, the causative factor. And we have to find out what all are the strategies we implement to prevent such causes. And drug treatment. If we consult a doctor and the multidisciplinary team, whether this person, elderly people with a disability, need to get proper treatment and drug for the cure and treatment of the disease, then it need to be, it is a must need, and the social worker need to support them. A surgical treatment for in the case of lung disease or heart disease, is there any, in the case of cancer or terminal disability, sometimes they because surgical treatment. So that also a social worker need to identify, and we should have to help the elderly people to receive such kinds of assistance. And provision of aid and appliances. In the financial assistance we can provide, at the same time if there is no person to take care of the elderly with a disability, that time we should have to provide the aid and support. If there is no institution, if they are not even aware about the institutions which they are providing services and assistance for the elderly with a disability, we should have to make aware them. And pain management. Sometimes the elderly people with a disability are having, in the case of severe and in the cancer also, no, in the third stage, there is increase in pain. So that in pain management, in the case of bereavement also, the pain will be increased, right? So what kind of counseling which we can provide, what kind of psychoeducation we can be provided for the elderly with a disability, that should also matters. And social and environmental intervention. Whatever we are doing, if you are consulting the doctor, if you are helping to meet a multidisciplinary team, if you are helping the elderly people with a disability to identify the financial assistance, whatever we are giving, but we should need to thoroughly inquire whether any person is ready and take care of the elderly people. What about the family support system? So social and environmental intervention is very important. We should need to aware the family members to take care of the elderly and how they can take care of the elderly and what are strategies they need to understand while taking care of the elderly, what are basic needs which the elderly people need to satisfy, so how a family member can support for that assistant. So in all these cases the social and environmental intervention is very much important. And coming to the disability prevention, if we are preventing the disability, we actually in the case of severe disability we can even completely cure the disability, but we just can reduce the severity by benefit to all the people from increasing physical activity, improved diet and nutrition and immunization and management program as a social worker we can do. At the same time we can aware about nutrition and immunization, and also the importance of improved diet and increased physical activity. As I said now, increased physical activity. Then I just mentioned the exercise, nutrition. In terms of preventing disability, some trials involving physical exercise interventions for positive outcomes for disability. But we should, if we are suggesting exercise for the elderly with a disability, we should also need to know the severity of the disability, because if you are suggesting hard, no, that will also increase the weakness and will also increase the pain. So we should, before we are suggesting an exercise pattern or a yoga technique to the people, those who are elderly with disability, before providing such kinds of awareness, we should need to know whether it is okay and whether it make a betterment in the life of the elderly people with a disability. Otherwise, it will worsen the situation. So, in the case of nutrition also, elderly people have relatively more body fat, resulting in lower metabolic rate. Therefore, calorie needs are reduced. So, the diet needs proportionately more protein, essential fat, and micronutrition. We can suggest food items. We can provide a dietary plan according to the disease and disability they are having, and we can ensure them whether they are ready to follow, because sometimes if they are taking some kinds of food that will result in continuous vomiting, diarrhea, like that. So if we are providing such kind of awareness, we should need to consult the doctors or what all problems they are facing and undergoing throughout. So after knowing all these things, we can suggest exercises, nutrition. And in the case of ours also, we are also aging, right? Each and every year the age is increasing. So in that time period, we can also continue our exercise properly. We are need to maintain the diet properly. We have to take nutritious food, and also it will also reduce the disability, and it will prevent us from disability. Thank you. I think I have finished in the right time, sir. Thank you all. Thank you for
Very well
hearing.
presented, ma'am.
Thank you so much.
All the aspects, and it was very well presented.
Thank you so much. Is there any doubts the participants have?
Friends, if you have any queries, you can put in chat box or unmute yourself, or you can raise your hand so that we can unmute you. There are appreciations in the chat box. No? Very informative session, very insightful session.
Thank you. Thank you all.
No question yet, but all our appreciations.
Okay, thank you. Any doubts you can ask now?
Feel free to unmute yourself or ask any queries, clarifications, or if you have any comments or observations also, you can share.
I think there is a
Hi. Hi, ma'am.
Hi, ma'am.
Hi, Priya. It's mind blowing. So, because I'm currently, for me, this topic is very close to my heart because I'm currently working with Rotary Club.
Okay.
And I have we have 21 members, and in 19 people are people with disability.
Okay, 19 people with a disability. Oh, that is
Yeah,
good.
visually impaired, hearing impaired, and multi cirrhosis.
Oh,
So only 2 people are sighted actually. The other persons also are having some or the other problem, and one of them are 4 people are having multi cirrhosis.
oh,
And so this topic is very close to my heart. Yeah, I feel no, you should give this session for us also in Rotary. I'll refer
sure.
it. I'll refer you to Arvind sir in the Sunday meeting. I'm going to meet him online. So
Okay.
I'll refer your name. So he will call
Thank
you and invite you. And
I am doing. Okay, tell me, ma'am.
we'll be doing a session in
Hmm.
June. All 4 Saturdays will be, but we want a person with
Okay.
who explains
I-
about disability.
Okay, I am doing my PhD in the case of elderly with a disability, ma'am, both the caregivers and also the recipients. And I am focusing purely on Kerala. People, those who are disabled, no? From Kerala, I am focusing on them.
Yeah, but for me, anybody works in disability in this forum also. Anybody works with disability, na? I want
Okay.
to take them for Rotary Club because you can do there. So that's
Yes.
also one. And excellent presentations. Like I don't know where to ask the doubt. So crisp and clear. That PowerPoint was really good.
Thank you, ma'am.
Excellent. You have put excellent pictures, very clear cut. I understood everything, sir. No doubts. That's why Ravindra sir said appreciations.
Thank you so
Because
much.
you have done a lot of hard work in that PowerPoint itself.
Thank
And
you.
on top of that, you have explained it.
Thank
So
you.
2 credits to you.
Thanks a lot.
Because I am very happy that that PowerPoint was excellent. I didn't move my eyes from the PowerPoint. I was watching each and every line because to make a PowerPoint is very difficult. I know because I have made presentations. To do whoever helped you or you did it on your own, excellent.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you so much. And I'm very much thank you for introducing and giving this wonderful opportunity, ma'am. First time I am actually collaborating with this institution, the Holistic.
Yeah. Actually, no, I gave you, but you did justice. That's what for me that I can't take eyes from the PowerPoint. That material and the way you explained. I am very happy that you said your rank holder really are really brilliant.
Thank you, ma'am.
God bless you and all the
Thank
best.
you so much. Thank you
And
so
if I
much.
have any sessions in my Rotary, I'll call you.
Sure. With pleasure, I will.
All the best. God bless.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, ma'am. Any other comments from the participants? Sir, can we wind up the session?
Yeah, ma'am.
No.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, ma'am, for the wonderful session. It was really very insightful, covering various topics. And we thank you once again for joining us on this international platform. And we wish you all the success, and we look forward for your sessions even in future.
Thank you so much, sir. With pleasure, I will do, sir.
And to everyone, this is a wonderful platform created commemorating Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav. So we are celebrating 75 years of independence, and this is a wonderful occasion. Everyone can join us and share our knowledge with our fellow colleagues and students fraternity. So we request everyone to make use of this opportunity, because again then we have to commemorate, we have to wait for another 25 years. So let's everyone make use of this wonderful opportunity. And we have speakers and participants joining from across the world. So let's use this opportunity to share our knowledge and share this information with your colleagues and friends, students, research scholars, and even other NGOs working in different fields, so that they can also join this platform and share their knowledge. This is an open platform, and everyone, whoever is an expert in their own subject, can join us and share the information. We have provided all the details on the website. You can check all the details, what are the requirements for being a speaker and what details are required. So all those details are available on the website. Kindly keep joining us daily. And Sundays, we have a full day sessions, full day webinar, international webinar. So this Sunday also we are having on information communication technologies and press. This entire month is World Press Freedom Month. So we are organizing on freedom of speech and expression and word press freedom, various topics related to mass communication, journalism, media. So we will be having, and the next week, this Sunday, we are having on information communication. Next Sunday, we are having a wonderful webinar, that too international, on animal welfare, pets, and health and well-being. So that will be a very good eye-opener, and we'll have an amazing sessions. So do join us. The link will be same. On weekdays, it's 6 to 8. So we'll be starting at 6, but the actual session will be starting at 6:50. And on Sundays, we are starting at 11. And depending on the sessions, it may end somewhere from 3 o'clock to 5 o'clock, depending on number of sessions and number of speakers. So as a token of gratitude, actually all these sessions are entirely free. There is no fees for anyone, even for joining or even for presentations. So entire platform is completely free. Experts can join and disseminate their information, and participants can join and enjoy the information and take away the knowledge from this platform. So as a token of gratitude, we are providing certificates to the presenters as well as the participants. And this is also completely free. Only thing is, we all need to attend to the sessions. That is only the requirement, and register yourself so that we have your details. As an organization, we need to maintain records of who is joining and who is getting the certificate. So registration is mandatory. So it is a formality for anyone for that matter. So kindly register. Registration is entirely free. You can register and you can join the link, and you can attend the session and fill the feedback form. Feedback form will be provided within the platform. There is no link. Earlier we used to provide a Google form link, but now we are taking the feedback within the Zoom platform. Attendance is being automatically recorded by the Zoom platform. So kindly join in time, and so that we can leave in time. And we thank you once again, everyone, for joining us. Now we'll be sharing the feedback form in the form of polls. Kindly do not close any pop-up window. Kindly do not move away from the Zoom app. because sometimes the window gets closed and we cannot raise the poll again because it will delete the data which has been already captured. So we request everyone to fill the form, and if there are many senior professors, practitioners attending our series, so we request everyone, if you are an expert in any of your subject domain, uh, you can always express your interest and share your details. We will be happy to host you. This platform is created for that purpose, so feel free to contact us depending on the availability as early as possible. We will schedule your sessions. And for speakers, we will be sharing the certificates through WhatsApp. And for participants, we are sharing certificates on website. We have shared the feedback form in the form of polls. Kindly attend to the feedback form. For the participants, a Google Drive link has been shared on the website. After 15 days, generally we are sharing within 15 days. That is the maximum time. Generally we share within 15 working days itself. So kindly check out the website and follow International Webinar Series link. In that link, in that page, you can find date-wise all the events are listed. So you select appropriate date which you have attended, and in that page you will find a flyer like daily we are sharing. Just below the flyer, you have the certificate link. So Google Drive link will be provided there within 15 working days. You can download your certificate. So the requirements are: first you need to register for the webinar. Second thing is you need to attend the session. Third thing is you have to fill the feedback form. In the feedback form, there is an option. Earlier, we had put an option. If you do not want certificate, that is optional. So you can select it as no. No certificate will be generated. If you want certificate, you can select as this. But now we have removed that option because whoever is filling the feedback form, we are providing. In case just if there is any technical problem, just let us know within the Zoom platform itself. You can leave your complete details like name, designation, organization, email address, contact number in the chat box after filling the feedback form, so that we can also cross check the attendance in case of any technical difficulties. You can select Dr. Ravindra RN, me as the message recipient, and you can send me the details. And we request all the participants kindly rename yourself, I mean Zoom ID, with your actual names as per your certificates. That will also help us because attendance is being generated automatically by the Zoom platform. What we get is name is as being displayed now in the Zoom platform. So sometimes we see sometimes some mobile names or some brand names or something like that instead of our real names. So this will create problem, I mean, in tracking the attendance. So before joining, after joining, there is no provision to rename yourself. So before joining the platform, make sure you are renaming yourself, and if it is not appropriately renamed. Kindly keep joining us daily and keep sharing this information with your friends and colleagues. And before leaving the platform, kindly fill up the feedback form. It is mandatory to receive the certificate. whoever wish to present or make your presentations, we welcome you all. Contact us. My contact number is given in the registration form on the flyer on the website. You can just complete the registration form. You can select as a speaker and provide details, and also send the details to my personal WhatsApp so that we can schedule your session. Thank you everyone for joining us. Kindly quickly fill up the feedback form before leaving the webinar. So we thank everyone. Today's speaker, Priya S. Dev, and all the participants for joining us and making this webinar wonderful. It's only because of you all we are able to successfully conduct this webinar series. Kindly keep joining us for participation and presentations. Thank you once again. Yeah, PPT, if speaker is permitting to share PPT, we will try to share the PPT. Just by mistake, if you have closed the feedback form, you can sign out and sign in. We cannot relaunch the window, so always be alert and careful. So you can just log out and sign in again, and it will the feedback form will automatically be displayed. So you can fill up the feedback form. Without filling up the feedback form, don't close the form. You cannot launch it again. Dear participants, kindly quickly fill up the feedback form. We'll be closing the feedback form and ending the meeting soon. Everyone quickly fill up the feedback form. Thank you everyone for joining us. See you tomorrow at the same time with different topic and speaker. Take care. Good night.